Sometimes in life, you need a quick slap to the face to get you back into your reality, into the present, because like the present is all there is. And sometimes your emotions will overwhelm you. I know my emotions have overwhelmed me. Maybe your emotions have overwhelmed you. Maybe you've never had emotions. Maybe you're alexithymic, which I can touch on that in this video, and in all likelihood I will. If these are things that you're interested in learning more about, highly recommend subscribing to the channel, because I talk about ideas that are a little bit more abstract, and I use anime as a reference to help you improve your life so you can become more fit, you can become healthier, you can start to talk with more people, you can get the girl, you can really do more with your life and still get a better return from doing the things that you want to do. So if that's something that you're interested in, then subscribe to the channel and you can listen to more of these videos. I don't do any fancy graphics on screen because I always listen to these types of talks on walks or bike rides or hikes or something like that. So I'm doing it the exact same way because I wanted content like this when I was growing up, instead of like that, like just fighting like cool stuff. But I also like this stuff. It's a combination of the both. Nonetheless, sometimes our emotions can overwhelm us. Like Itadori, when he was trying to use Black Flash for the very first time against Tanima, he wasn't able to use it because his emotions were out of whack. He was using the boiled up rage that he had built from all these other battles, from watching all of his friends, basically. And I sigh because it's sad that this has to be the case, that people have to do these things. But he had all this boiled up rage, and he was like, I'm going to use this rage to fight all of these people off. But like, rage can be used in two ways. Like, you can use your rage in a beneficial way, or you can subside it and put it to the side so you can be more in the present. And if you're more in the present, then all of a sudden, like, everything, at least from my perspective, has become a lot more freeing and or capable for me to be able to enjoy my experience in my life. And if that's something that you want to do, this is the best way that you can do it, because emotions are a tool. Emotions are our own understanding of ourselves. And the only way that you can have an emotion, like the only reason that Itadori was able to get upset and enraged was because he figured that, like, since this cursed spirit Hanuma knows Pash Face Mahito, then all of a sudden he has to use this anger to get revenge. But sometimes revenge or anger or rage isn't the best emotion to use, and sometimes you have to put that aside because it can cloud your judgment. It happens a lot of the times. I know it's happened to me personally because, like, as I was talking about just briefly at the beginning of this video, there's this word called alexithymia. It basically means that you can't identify you're colorblind to your emotions, basically. So you can't identify what emotion you're feeling. Maybe you don't feel any emotions. Maybe you haven't cried in multiple years. Maybe you have never cried, or you never remember crying. And that's perfectly okay. I know I was there. Like, it didn't work out for me all that well. And then once I finally did, I was like, I became overwhelmed and I became overflooded. And then I had to leave and I had to figure out this whole thing about myself and like the emotions and understanding myself. And I was like, oh, wow, okay, this is actually pretty neat. Being able to understand, like, hey, I can just acknowledge my emotions, I can release them, I can let them go, and now I can continue on with the rest of my day. But when I first started figuring out emotions and like I let them overwhelm me, all of a sudden I start to make rash decisions, or I would go out to places that I needed to go to be able to be alone and be like with the thoughts and the feelings and just weep, basically. There's nothing wrong with that. That was just the world that I had to be in, which I'm grateful for, and I love it, because now I'm in this place right now where I feel a lot more confident, I feel a lot more capable, I feel a lot more in tune with myself, and I love myself in ways that I never had loved myself in beforehand. And I share this with you not to gloat, not to share, like, not to be like, oh, look at me, you be so surprised at me and like be so proud of me. No, that's not why I'm doing this. I'm sharing it with you because I was in your shoes as well too, where I didn't know how to identify my emotions. I never cried. I remember the first time that I cried later was I was watching this movie a while ago in my, like, at one of the other places that I lived, and I was like, oh, I can cry. And I remember going in the mirror and I was like, wow, this is great. I was like, see, look, I can. And that was the last time that I remember crying, because like whenever I would go to movies or something like that, like there'd just be like a wallop of tears, but like the tears would never come out. And I felt like I was always missing an aspect of myself, which made it very sad. It made it very lonely. Like, it made it just felt like I wasn't experiencing the whole human experience in the ways that I needed to be experiencing it in. And that's perfectly okay. We all have to go through those things, but that's where I'm like having those like doorways opened, kind of like how each door uses Black Flash. Like, he had to have the doorway open from Todo. Like, Todo helped him identify that he could create this said thing by using his power, because the divergent fists, I believe, was what Gojo was talking about with Itadori originally, where he's like, you have your sheer strength is so strong, like you get the first punch and then the cursed energy follows behind it, where Toto's like, you can do this a lot better. Like, you're actually selling yourself short by doing the way, like, you're punching the way that you need to, because like to an advanced user or cursed user, like, that's not going to have any significant benefit on them. Now, if you truly want to be able to benefit them, like, you have the capabilities to do this one thing that is incredibly rare to all these other sorcerers. Like Nanami, he was able to do it with he was able to do it with sheer luck, whereas like Itadori, he's able to do it like from sheer skill. And this is where I say having a teacher and why you need to book a call down below to schedule a free 30-minute like coaching session, because having the coach, the teacher, the mentor, and having having the mentor, having the consultant to help you identify like your strengths will help you level up a lot faster. Because if Todo and Itadori never went into battle, then Itadori never would have learned about Black Flash. That's at least my perspective. He might have at one point in time. It just would have been years later or months later or days later, whatever it may be. But since he was in the battle with Todo, he was able to accelerate that progress because Todo saw his potential. And he's like, this is what we can do. And he's like, regardless of what happens, if you can't defeat Hanuma or if you can't land a Black Flash, you're done. I'll watch you die. He's like, I don't even care. But like, this is what we had to do because that's how Itadori is. You might not have that same level of experience. You might not have that same level of understanding. You might not want to be coached or mentored that way. But being able to understand and identify by having me be a couple of steps ahead of you can help you figure out like, okay, this is what's going to work best for you. Or you can let me know like, this is what's going to work best for you. Like I've helped other people open up their own bank account. I've helped other people manifest more. I've helped other people identify like that they're complaining a little bit more and change their negative perspective into a positive perspective. Helped people sell their art online, which if you're an artist and you want to sell your art like on Instagram or something like that, I've helped friends of mine do that and clients of mine do that. So I'm more than happy to help you do that as well too. This is where sometimes I say like you need to have that slap in the face. You need to have that person such as myself or Todo come up and just be like, bah, and slap you out and get you back into the present moment, because then you can start to experience more of what life has to offer. As I was touching on briefly just a moment ago, where we have this understanding that we like emotions are our driving force. And the only way that you can have an emotion is if you have a belief tied to that said emotion. Like if Itadori had never faced off against Mahito, he wouldn't have had the boiling rage to go up against Hanuma when Hanuma was like, and what if I say I do know Mahito? I hope I'm saying his name right. We'll say Patchface. We'll do a bit of both. If he didn't have that prior experience with Mahito, Patchface, then when Hanuma said the same thing, he wouldn't have that same boiling rage because he hadn't built a definition up to have that type of reaction from that set experience. Because the first time he fought Hanuma, like sure, he was like upset and like angry at him, but like he also wasn't like as devastated as he was until all of a sudden Mahito changed his friend into the cursed like item, the weird like looking like it's like I'd say it's kind of like a whale thing, but it also wasn't. I don't even know what you would call it, but it had like the big lips. When he changed his friend into that's when Itadori got upset because he's like, you broke one of my belief systems. You broke this definition that like all human life is sacred. So then he got that boiling rage. But if he never had that belief system in the first place, if he was kind of like Mahito, where it's just like, oh, human life is meaningless, it's not. But like if you had that definition that's how it was, then like you doing these atrocities, it's also not a word, things, then you wouldn't have cared what happened to that said person. So this is where I say like having the definition and understand your belief system and understand that sometimes you need that slap in the face from somebody else can really help you level up, can really help you have a better understanding, because in all likelihood you're exactly like me because you're watching this video right now. You have this belief or this understanding that you are this person. Like these are your belief patterns. From years of meditation, from years of being, from years of experimenting, I've come to realize that a lot of the things that we know to be true are not our own truth. It is other people's truths that have been projected or incorporated or ingrained in us because we as babies, that I was talking about, I believe in the last video, where like you're having to learn a new language or you're having to learn a new skill, like it has to come from repetition. And this is what happens. So a lot of the times you have to, at least this is my perspective from being on the world in the ways that I have, is throughout our lives we are presented with these different choices. We are presented with these different options, and sometimes people will influence us from their own thinking patterns. They'll ingrain their own fears, their own ideas, their own beliefs into us. And then as we grow older, as we become adults, as we get out of college, as we get out of middle school, as we get out of college, we get to identify our own belief systems. We get to create our own structure. Some other people will believe it. Some other people won't. You'll gain new friends. You'll lose other friends. Maybe you'll lose family members. Maybe you'll gain family members. It really comes down to what you want in life. And you can do this all on your own. Trust me, you can. I've done it all on my own. And it's a ride. It's a ride, to say the least and the most at the exact same time. So if you want to accelerate the progress, because I have also accelerated the process in other ways as well too, it just really comes down to, what do you want? Like, do you want to be consumed by rage all the time? Would you like to understand that you have other emotions and you can use your emotions to your benefit? Because like, if you're able to calmly and eloquently be in the present moment, a lot of other different things will be happening. Because like, I was having this thought the other night. I was like, I can only have one conversation at one time. I can only speak one certain word at one specific moment in one specific area. I can't have two different conversations going on at once. I can have a different thought that maybe pops in my head, and I can be like, okay, I'll identify this and I'll go down that route. Otherwise, I can only be like doing one thing at once. You can only listen to one video at one time and actually pay attention. Sure, you can have like 50 different sounds going on, but your brain's going to tune into the one thing that you needed to tune into. So you could think about like going out to a bar, a coffee shop, on a park, to a concert, somewhere where like there's lots of different noises going on. You're gonna pick up on, if you do this right, don't try to focus on any noise in particular, but like if you just let your brain pick up on the certain conversations and things that are happening, you start to notice the things that you need to hear and the ways that you need to hear it. Like, I'll do it at the gym. I could just be sitting at the gym and somebody says something that I need to say at that set time. It's fantastic, it's great, it's wonderful, and I love it, and I hope you can do the exact same thing. So having an understanding of like where the rage is coming from, having somebody to knock you out of it, having somebody to bring you more into the present moment and help you get stronger, is what I do. It's what I want to help you out. It's what I want to help you do as well too. Because when we're able to identify our beliefs, when we're able to identify our definitions, when we're able to understand where these feelings, these emotions, this rage is coming from, we can start to use it for our benefit. We don't have to use it to our detriment. We can use it for our own good, for our own well-being, for our own understanding, for our own self-discovery, if that is what you want to do. If that's not what you want to do, then by all means, like, keep living the life that you want to live. I just know for me personally in my life, I've always grown more from doing these hard things, from trying, from experimenting, from hiring other people, from reaching out to other people, from having conversations, from like going from person to person and asking these things. So I just want to help you out and understand that like, we can get you to be stronger if that is something that you do want. I know that was something that I've always wanted. I know something that I always will want. I know something that I will always continue doing. And I just want to share that with you because it's benefited my life in more ways than I could ever know. Sure, there are ups and there are downs, but I would say I'm happier than I've ever been. And like I said at the beginning, I don't share that to gloat or to like be like, oh, look at me. I share that with you to let you know that regardless of where you're at right now, things do get better. They will get better. They will improve. They will increase in ways that you never thought them capable of increasing, because all you can ever see is like this present moment. But when you look back, you can be like, boom, that's why I did this. Like, that's why we had to come up to this battle. Like, that's why Itadori had to fight Mahito before he was able to fight Hanuma. Because then if he was in a different battle against somebody else and he used that rage and then Todo wasn't there, then all of a sudden, like, he very well could have died because he didn't understand the skills to be able to upgrade and level himself up. So this is where I say, like, every event that happens in the ways that it needs to happen, it's happening at the exact time when it needs to happen, and you just have to be willing to accept that if that is part of your belief system, if that is part of your structure. If it's not, then no worries, but if it is, I know it'll help you out in the same ways that it has helped me. And if this has been useful to you, you can subscribe to the channel, or like I said, book the call, and I'll chat with you guys in the next video. So thank you for watching. I say you guys, but I primarily do just mean you, because I'm here for you and you're here for me.